Our next speaker is from Estonia, Mirjam Averin. She's a bachelor's degree in architectural and furniture conservation, heritage specialist whose work focuses on architectural conservation, historic interiors, and furniture restoration. And she will present a research on Consolidation Limewash conservation methods used in Estonia's medieval churches. Thank you. Mirjam, please.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. First of all, before I start, I want to say that just a week ago I looked up my article again and I found one mistake from there that I made myself. The photos number 1 and 2 are mixed. They should be other way around. So if you're reading the article from the book, then you know that the pictures are mixed. So today I'm going to introduce and talk about the manner how and why to apply consolidating limewash finish layer, what was created because the need of change in methodology was needed. Time after time, my colleagues had experienced that their work results were not long-lasting, and just a very short time after finishing their work, the visual aesthetics were also already wearing off, and the lasting results were almost impossible to guarantee. So when in 2006, a year after conservation works in Kaarma Church, Saaremaal, were finished, and the first signs of deteriorations were already visible, it was clear that something should change, but exactly what, we were not sure yet. On that very summer, 2006, conservation works started in Püha Church, Saaremaa, and it was there where our necessity and somewhat by chance this methodology was born. First, a little bit about the historical context, how the limewash paint or lime paint is added in churches, especially in medieval churches. And my experience has shown that previous renovators have not concerned themselves too much with repairing the surfaces before new layer or paint was applied. In some cases, there are signs of greater works done, plaster works. There are bigger or smaller signs of it. Though the batches are added roughly, mostly without thought to visual outcome. It's not important for them to create aesthetically great view. They just want to repair it. In between lime paint, it was that varies from thickness to very thin, and also to very thick. It can be sometimes almost over half a centimeter. Rarely, but yes, it can be so thick. There can be found signs of dust, different kind of biological remedies, and streams of paint, or even candle wax. So cleaning up before the renovation works was also not so important to them. Also, many areas of plaster and lime paint layers were damaged by moisture or salts and not have been repaired at all. And today they are usually held on place by the thick and rigid layers of paint on top of those. It looks fine, but if you knock on it, you can see and hear that it's hollow. This means we have a lot of work to do even before we can start to think about adding new layers of paint. Conservators who have worked in churches know always to expect similar type of problems. And here I talk about the churches that are not heated, which is the case in most Estonian churches. The problems that are caused by excessive moistures gathered in the walls over a long time period, and because of overall climate in Estonia. We have cold winters, we have warm summers, and a lot of rain during the spring or autumn period. And in the winter period also the temperature goes below 0 inside, in interior, in the walls. Even once the source of the onflow of the moisture has been eliminated, the drying process is very slow, and it may take decades before the walls dry completely up. As a result, the new applied lime paint layer wholesome appearance becomes interrupted and patchy due to the ongoing decomposition process. So aesthetically not so nice surfaces, and often it may appear that the work was done for nothing. And the question marks are arised, why to spend so much money, and it makes us also quite sad to see this kind of results. As you can see on those pictures here, the upper picture on the right side is from Karma Church, what I mentioned in the beginning, and the lower one is from Karja Church, and the works were done there little over 40 years ago, or a little bit less. So, for one hand, we wanted to take the composition to minimum, and on the other hand, we wanted to create aesthetically and visually a pleasing surface where the decay would not be visibly so drastic. We acknowledged that we couldn't guarantee a very long-lasting visual effect, but we wanted that if it starts to decompose, and that it would look as little as it would look visually acceptable. It was necessary to consolidate the surfaces before final paint layer, so that we did. And as a pre-work all the bigger caps and nicks were filled with mortar from different fraction. Also the surfaces were cleaned from dust and loose particles for better adhesion. And when conservators started to fill up the fine cracks and edges, it was understood that it would be impossible to sew with spatula, and there was too much manual labor to achieve the desired consolidative state. So the spatula was exchanged for a brush, and the method itself is quite easy. The idea was to use the same fine mortar that we used for filling up the cracks and smaller damages, and to liquefy it and make it quite thin. And though the mortar made of lime putty and chamot powder was liquefied quite thin, all the surfaces were still pre-moisturized for applying process. When adding material from the bowl with the brush, it was important to stir it constantly, because mortar particles that are heavier than water will sink to the bottom, and constant stirring helps to distribute the material evenly. After liquefied mortar was applied, a wet sponge was used to brush and rub the materials in the cracks and edges while collecting all the excessive material. And while doing so, the material also filled the smallest unevenness on the surfaces, so creating overall smoother top. When doing so, my colleagues were told by the locals that what they see is that with one hand that holds the brush, material is added, and with the other hand that holds the sponge, material is rubbed off. They referred to the movie Karate Kid when Mr. Miyagi is teaching Daniel how to wax a car. So one hand is like wax off and the other hand is wax off. We basically work that one hand we have a brush, and at the same time, other hand we have a sponge. So we are working all the time, wax on, wax off. After the surface is first really dried out, it was clear that all the work was done. No extra finishing layer was needed. So with one sweep, all the goals were achieved, plus the new layer is translucent, and all the historical layers are seen all in all their glory. All the color differences and fragmentations, what altogether creates visually more appealing sight. So while using lime paint material made from marlstone, it is also a light yellowish color, what also is well suited with the historical interiors, because the interiors have never been this whitish, this bright white color. They have always been a little bit yellowish. And chamot powder that we used can also help to trim the color, and it also gives a little bit fill and mass to the mixture. When to talk about the materials, it's expected that one uses lime-based materials as it is traditional, recommended and acceptable to use in historical objects such as medieval churches. And most suitable material is hydraulic lime, what has properties that allow it to carbonate in even very humidity-rich environments. And medieval churches are famous about collecting and preserving moisture. Even if the cause is removed, as I mentioned, it still takes decades to dry out. In our work since 2006, when using our method, we have so far, without exception, used hydraulic lime that is locally made in the traditional method by Pirit Benu and his company Limex in Saaremaa. His hydraulic lime have some good properties that we prefer. It has a very nice, suitable light yellowish color that comes from the marlstone he uses, and also it has a suitable degree of strength. By NHL standards, it's around 2, and it is considered most suitable for conservation works. And also the chamot powder gives a little bit more strength. So for a final conclusion, I can say that if one wants to exhibit previous historical layers and at the same time consolidate the wall and smoothen visual appearances, then this method is what they need. When I say not suitable for everywhere, I mean that our practice shows that we adapt the method almost everywhere, but it depends what is the overall expectation for the final result. We usually apply it more to the lower parts of the churches as it's more demolished, more decomposed, but upper parts of the church have always been more drier, so the layers of paint are much more well conserved, and we don't need to apply the layer everywhere. And in one case, you can see on the upper right corner, we also have used this method on a stone, where we just had to consider that stone is a very, top layer stone is very, how to say, not coarse enough. So you have to be very careful with the sponge when removing the excess paint, and also you can adjust with the sponge how much you take off the excessive material. Do you want to create thicker layer or thinner layer of this consolidating layer? And thus far, the durability of works have exceeded our expectations. This last autumn and winter, I visited some of the sites where we have worked to study and document how it has stood the test of time. For example, I visited Püha Church, where the consolidation works were finished 20 years ago, and though there have been some inevitable decay, the overall picture was quite wholesome. And so I believe that we can continue this work and try to make it even better. And when I say we on this here, I mainly mean me and my mentor, Eva Mölder, who actually was the creator of the consolidating Limewash method on wax-on and wax-off method. And also, Juhan Kilumets, who is the owner of private company Rändmeister, doing the consolidation works in medieval churches mainly. And to thank him to put up with us and in believing in us and trusting us with our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirjam. Do we have questions in the audience? Anyone? Okay, I will ask then. Tell me if I got it right. Does the finish of the wall is translucent, and does it shows previous damage and dirt, and you just put the finish on, and you can see the damage on the wall after that?
Yes, exactly. We don't. Our purpose is not to hide the previous layers and how much they are preserved or how much they are not preserved. Also, the damages are there, but we just a little bit like smoothen out. We do the plaster work beforehand, so the overall view or the smoothness is a little bit better than it was before.
And how do people around react to this kind of finish?
There are mixed reactions to that, because some people find it very honest, that it doesn't try to hide, but to some people it feels unfinished.
Okay, thank you. Maybe questions arise? No? Okay, thank you, Mirjam.